Moving on, a chilling reminder that the globe's most ancient hatred is alive and well. A Boston-based BDS group calling itself the Mapping Project, publishing an interactive chart that literally tracks the locations of Jewish and pro-Israel institutions, including a Jewish high school and a local synagogue council. Attorney and international director of UK Lawyers for Israel, Yifa Segal, joining to discuss. Yifa, it is a pleasure to have you with us. Now, government representatives are among those denouncing the project as anti-Semitic and dangerous, and they're vowing to speak with those who support the group to explain how inappropriate and unacceptable this is. Is that all that can be done, though, in such a situation?
It's a very good question, and it's a complicated one, and I'm not sure that we have enough information right now to answer that. I will start by saying the good news is that we read that the FBI has launched an official investigation. So hopefully, if they are,
but so far they haven't found anything, because so far the FBI says that they can't make a move because there hasn't been a direct call to violence.
Yeah, so part of the problems, I don't know if it's a problem, depends on your point of view, but in American law, the freedom of speech is so highly protected that you can basically say anything about anyone, including making such horrible anti-Semitic statements and accusations, and it would still be legal. So the hope was that if the FBI goes and looks for whoever is the one behind this project, they will find additional contacts and real calls for violence and the things that we believe are to be found there, because otherwise, why go through the trouble of creating such a public campaign? But we are looking into this, we and other groups as well. I mean, there are a lot of potential acts that can be taken by the individual groups or even people that were named in this mapping project. So there is a lot of work to be done to see what kind of legal attacks can be launched against this. But again, it's complicated because of the freedom of speech issue that is so protected in the United States.
So again, though, the group defines Zionism as a form of white supremacy. They say the police are a colonial and capitalist tool for power through violence and coercion. It includes the United States as a settler colonial state, which should be dismantled by their definitions. And it accuses the mapped Jewish groups of supporting ethnic cleansing around the world, harm to human health, pollution, and more. At the very least, isn't the group open to libel or slander suits, if not for directly endangering the Jewish community?
So I can tell you what the good news is. The good news is that, as you said, it created a visceral reaction that came from politicians, from leaders, from, we see it in the press, even in the mainstream press. People are outraged about this, and this is at least that's a positive thing that we can report on. In terms of what, again, as you said, what kind of legal actions can be taken, that's a completely different story. I mean, they can be attacked as a net, they can be attacked, for who they are, for what they're doing, for the connection between, let's say, BDS and delegitimization of Israel and anti-Semitism, which is an ongoing effort that we have been trying to get people to understand that it's the exact same thing. It's the modern type of anti-Semitism that is manifested in anti-Zionist rhetoric. So in that sense, I think there was positive progress as a result of this. But individual groups, as you said, we started to dive into what is said about each group or each individual or each company, and to see what can be potentially be claimed as slander or defamation. And those groups have to stand up and say, we want to sue. So there are a few steps still that we need to take, including, finding the real identity of whoever is behind this project. But I believe that, with a little bit of work, there's a lot to be done.
So, I mean, we talked about the visceral reaction in some politicians who are taking this seriously, but it literally blames Jews and Jewish groups for everything from pollution to gentrification. How many are taking this seriously?
Well, as I said, I think more people are taking this seriously than we have seen in the past, because usually you get a lot of responses by people that say, oh, anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism is not the same thing. All of a sudden here, you're not hearing all these regular excuses by the usual suspects, let's say. And so at least that, I mean, really, at least that. So it's a good start in that sense. More people can take it seriously, and I think that, this is where we come in, activists around the world that are trying to not let anyone get away with such hate crimes.
Well, I guess my last question, the group argues for dismantling these listed organizations, including many Jewish groups, but also MIT, Harvard, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, the FBI, and hundreds of police departments. Are these, are the creators of this website, are they anarchists, or is that the natural endpoint progression for today's far left ideology?
Well, you see a lot of the far left, the anarchist type of narrative. This is not the first time that I've encountered this type of language. They call to dismantle the police. You remember the defund the police movement, right? So unfortunately, it's becoming more and more popular and less fringe type of arguments nowadays in the United States. I hope it's a wake-up call. I hope these type of things are a wake-up call because, as you say, it's completely insane. I went through the website and I read the indictments into all these different groups. It's insanity. There's no better word for it. It's completely hateful, violent, and crazy.
All right. Yifa Segal, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi everyone, it's Emmanuel Kadosh. I wanted to invite you all to subscribe to ILTV+, where you can find our daily news and updates about Israel. And not only that, but live feeds, entertainment, our kosher food show, and so much more. Needless to say, your subscription to ILTV+ helps us grow and create more content while also supporting the state of Israel. Our app is available on all platforms and devices, so I'll see you guys there.